Hey there, new types. Today we're showcasing my update to wing blockers after STO9 released. There wasn't a ton of tools that came with Destiny Ignition, however, the new Freedom is a very worthy addition to the deck, and for me, I was able to consolidate the list back into a two-pilot show. The deck may not be new, but it is a worthy update I think you should try. It's doing very well still in the meta. It did a showing at Worlds, and it is going to continue to be a strong deck going forward into GD04. Shout out to my local game stores and community of players that tolerate me setting myself up to record these matches and provide the gameplay footage for you on YouTube. None of this would be possible without their patience and support. I'd also like to point your attention to some fantastic creators I interact with regularly. Their channels will be in the description below. The Gundam trading card game has a wonderful community in general, and I believe it will only keep getting better. If you like what you're seeing here, consider giving the video a like and the channel a subscribe. And if you have any comments or suggestions, or just want to banter, just drop them below. I read every single one and try my best to reply to them as well. Now, it's time to descend from the skies on the wings of freedom and seize victory. Mission start. All right, here we go. Starting off with the dice roll after the cuts. My opponent rolls Snake Eyes, and I roll a 5. Not the highest rolls for me, but better than Snake Eyes. My opening hand here is... Here it is. Rick Diaz, Peace Million, Bird Mode, and I believe that's the Freedom and an Overflowing Affection. So it's pretty good. I have a curve. I can play it. So we keep it. Opponent adjusts his mat. He also kept his hand. So I do get to start the game with an Overflowing Affection. There's arguments not to do it here, but I'd like to kind of sort out my opening turn. I draw a Lefrith and another hero. This is actually where I opt to ditch the Freedom because I don't really think I need it, and there's two more in the deck, so. Not a cornerstone of the deck, it's just optional. Opponent plays the Grays and passes. I have the standard Lefrith pass play here. You could Rick Diaz, but really, what's the point, right? I do have a heavy suspicion that my opponent is playing Blurple, so we will see shortly. Plays down First Form, which honestly, again, heavily makes me heavily suspect Blurple. So I drew into an Ale Strike, so I just play down the Rick Diaz and pass my turn here. I am holding a pair of Ale Strikes here, not the worst. I'm playing basically blockers on curve, what I want to be doing. Now, I braced myself for an Amuro, but none come. Instead, my opponent pings his First Form, takes a swing, draws a card, and I block with my Lefrith. This kind of does tell me that his hand is a little shaky, not the best, probably lacking pilots. He plays out another Adapt, pings my Rick Diaz, and pings the Adapt itself. I let him deal 2 damage to my shield, or my base, rather. Then he passes his turn. I draw another Lefrith, which is interesting, but I decided to go for a bigger body that can't be pinged down. The only unfortunate thing here really is that if he has a Gundam and an Amuro, I could be punished a little bit. Not loving the prospect of that, but it is what it is. He plays a Gusian, once more still not revealing to me what his second color is. My Ale takes a point of damage from that, and then he pings his Grays. He's debating if he can swing things through, and I think he ultimately plays out a base first. Yes, plays the Isaribi out, which is Interesting. That does make me think Lupus instead. So he uses the Isaribi's ability, uses it on the Greys, which basically forces it through. He takes my EX base. Finally decides to commit with the healthy adapt, but I take 2 damage from it, and my Ale Strike survives. He takes another swing at my shields, and I use my Rick Diaz here because I've more or less committed to using the Ale Strike. So I play a Peace Million down, get a card to my hand. It ends up being Kira, which is pretty good for what it is. I play out my bird mode and put Hero on it. I decided to go a little aggressive here because I do want to take out his shield or his base, just to kind of deny the Greys a little value, so to speak. And yep, there it goes. Take out the Isaribi. And he actually lets me trade the Ale for his Greys. This again kind of tells me that he is on his Lupus game plan. Filling his graveyard as best he can. So I'm more or less convinced he's on almost mono purple, and I'm just kind of deciding if he's on white or if he's on blue for the card draw because I don't think he's. I haven't seen anything from that. I don't feel like he's on Blurple. I'm kind of thinking with 3B in the deck, he's playing the white version of the Lupus here. Plays out the Barbatos, and then he plays out the Hyakurin, and he does have to ping his Gusian for the Barbatos deploy effect. He taps himself out. Yeah, he tapped himself out, so he's fully used his resources. Sitting pretty with that blocker up. So we get ourselves up to our level 8 turn. No zero in hand, but I do decide to take a swing at his shields. He lets it through. I finally find out he's on white, as I kind of assume, but it's nice to have confirmation. So I play Lefrith, feeling a little more confident about not getting, Amuro punished. Then I play, Ale Strike here. And I'm more or less going for the tempo play now that I know what his other color is. So I put Hero on the Ale and bounce the Hyakurin and ship my turn over to my opponent. I'm kind of doing my best to set up somewhat of a board now that he doesn't have a shield and that he doesn't have too many things in there. He's only got about 4 units in the graveyard. I just wanted to know because I'm suspecting Lupus, but at this point, I also wanted to know how many adapts he just so I can try and keep track of the ping, knowing that he's only on white. Which, leaves him a full set of Mikas and 2 adapts and 3 Gusians still, because I'm pretty sure he's running 4. And for me, this is sort of playing the odds and kind of just trying to guess what he plays. I am kind of assuming more Gusians right now just because of the way he's been playing out kind of defensively. And fortunately, he hasn't really done a great job filling his graveyard, even with like overflowing affections or that in the deck. Mostly he hasn't seen them. He also doesn't seem to have seen a Ryusei Go if he's even running them. So feeling pretty good here. My hand is not the worst. Opponent pays 4 for another Gusian, pinging his other Gusian for 1, I think. Or no, he decides. He finally decides to put it on Lefrith. Um, Technically, he's got to decide who he's putting his damage on first, but it doesn't really matter in this context. He's in the driver's seat, so he puts it on his Barbatos, gives himself the suppression now. So suppression on the 4/5 Barbatos is active. Phase 2 for a Lefrith. So I do know he's got a Hyakurin in hand. Plays a Zahart and shows Mika and the Lupus, which basically helped me confirm what was happening. I'm also really happy that Mika went down into the trash before being played, so can't complain there. Now, I do have a wingzero. I make the swing with the bird mode. He blocks with his Lefrith. I do note that he only has 5 purple units in his graveyard, which is okay with me. Um, so I take a swing with my ale. He actually blocks it. I would have thought maybe not to block here, but he went for it. I think he was gambling that I didn't have a a wingzero. And I send my Lefrith out. Does block it with the other Gusian. And this is where I drop a wingzero. Leaving us with both a single unit up, but I would say in terms of general quality, my unit is going to be better. Um, didn't get he lost the Mika. Pretty sure he doesn't have another one in hand. So the Barbatos is only hitting for 4 right now. I'm not too concerned. He plays down a Lefrith. Show that I have 3 cards in hand here. He makes a swing at my base. I take 4 damage to my base from that. He plays the Grays. And then plays a Striker pack and gets himself the Launcher Strike. Nice suite of blockers. 2 strong blockers, but wingzero is high maneuver. I believe I have the Kira in hand still. Yes, I do. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to play a Peace Million, see what I get, because mine is already damaged, so I don't really care. I got a Justice out of my hand, which was super nice. And play the token. And then I spend the single resource here for Kira on the wingzero and send him into the Barbatos. I take 2 damage and then I heal it. So wingzero is not taking any damage from Barbatos in the end. Now my opponent's getting pretty low in cards in hand, and he hasn't seen a Lupus yet. I don't think he actually has a Lupus in hand yet. He is pinging my Justice here and pinging his Grays and then sending it in, which I block. Which basically signals he's trying to fill up his graveyard, right, as best he can. And I think he passes here after playing the Hyakurin. So despite all his blockers, we are kind of quote unquote the beatdown. So I draw an overflowing, play the overflowing. I draw a hero and a Rick Diaz, and I just decide to pitch my Peace Million, play a Wing Gundam, and then I pair it to, or link it rather, to Hero. I take a swing at his Lefrith, breaching his shields. He doesn't reveal the breach, unfortunately, just yet, but I basically correct him on that, and he gets his Zahart. Not the worst for me. Throw the wingzero at him, and he gets a Mika. And then I play Rick Diaz and pass the turn. Putting it on him to deal with my units. He doesn't have a huge amount of options here. I know his hand is basically Zahart and Mika at this point. Opponent takes a swing at my Justice, and I let it go. It's a trade, effectively. Plays another Gusian. And he pings my Wing Gundam. Plays Zahart. Mills 2, another Barbatos and Isaribi, and doesn't look like he hit his Lupus. So he goes and makes the swing at my Wing Gundam. I let it happen because it's a trade as opposed to blocking, and I'm really not interested in having to deal with that. I'd rather just protect my Wing Zero here. Because Wing Zero is inevitability, I just don't want to have to deal with that, if you know what I mean. So I take a swing at his shields. I hit another Lupus out of it, and that's not good for him. I play the Wing Gundam and pass my turn. A high maneuver 7-8 on the field, 4-5 with Breach 5, and a Rick Diaz. He put out a token on the field, forgetting our resources were already at 10. Opponent does a bit of math here. And he plays Zahart onto his Gusian, which means he only has a Mika in hand. But this is the line of play that would need him to, or that would allow him to kill the Wing Zero. Unfortunately, Mom and raise no fool. I block, protecting my Wing Zero from his souped up Gusian. And he passes the turn. He's hoping there is a shield in there. I kill his Greys, take 2, heal 2, flip the Lefrith, and finish him off with the Wing Zero. All right, so we're gonna kick this off pretty quick. I hope not to ramble on too much, guys. The list is very, very straightforward. I think the things you're gonna note really quickly that this deck is missing are the unforeseen incidents and the striker packs. I don't think like you need to skip them. I personally did because part of me is trying to play on a certain way, and also I am trying to play at a different curve with more units just to kind of try to avoid having to have units when I don't have them. That being said, this is clearly not the only way to build this deck. I do think that the core principle, though, a very steady curve and a very constant stream of good units is honestly my way of going about this deck. The big note I'd say is the drop of Ale to 2 and the Perfect Strike to 4. Now, if you're paying attention to the current meta, this has been something that shifts back and forth. This was a popular card and in GD01 and GD02, but also it was popular enough recently that you're seeing it as a 2 of or 3 of index along with a 2 or 3 of Ailstrike. For me, I decided to try and make my early game as concise as possible. I want to be able to keep the tempo up. I want to be able to play multiple cards on curve where I can. The big note is the Perfect Strike being a level 5 3 cost. When I'm at level 6 on turn going second, it allows me to go Perfect Strike, Rick DS, or Lefrith. And I think that's very important. All the 3 cost units here allow me to do some sort of 2-unit play. It also, lets me do something like Launcher Strike and Rick DS, or Rick DS and, or sorry, Lefrith and Launcher Strike. I've started not to really love the Ailstrike even in these type of decks because I don't think you need to necessarily bounce your opponent's units with wing. I think Ailstrike is great in the blue-white deck where playing that tempo kind of matters a little bit more. It's also why I've opted to go with 6 bases here because Hero plus Wing Gundam or wingzero is really a cornerstone of this deck, and I really want Peace Million to sell here. Early game, I'm really trying not to lose that many shields, and honestly, if they burst a shield, I'd rather have them burst into a 0 or to a 6 HP base versus like a striker pack or a unforeseen incident. So I just said, screw it, we're gonna run 606 bases and try and play for a pretty mean curve. Wing Gundam Bird mode is pretty nice. I don't think you need more than 3. Maybe 2 is better. I know a lot of people have considered 2, and you will see me see, more than 1 in a game, but I do like it. I do think that on the right, in a lot of matchups, it's still a relevant card, even in Blurple where it can die. Sometimes just being able to go Wing Gundam Bird mode plus Hero and attacking shields, as you see in this video, is always good, in my opinion. It's an efficient 5/4 that ramps you, and they do have to commit in order to deal with it. But other than that, deck is pretty standard. You have Justice and you have the new Freedom, and they're both quite good. Justice is obviously good because, it's an efficient card. It's actual, card advantage. You get 2 cards for the price of 1, 7 power for a 5 cost that also allows you to, double play units if you get the chance with, Lefrith or Rick Diaz. And then Freedom adds a little bit of extra pressure, and it's also sitting in a nice spot on the curve. There are times you can, basically clear the way with Wing Gundam and a Hero, and then follow up with a Freedom and threaten a wingzero and absolutely demolish an opponent's board. Other than that, Overflowing Affection is really your only other thing here. So the list is very much 30 30 units. 30 units and then just a just no, sorry, 32 units. That's my bad. 32 units and 18 non-units. And I'm kind of liking it. I'm not being too tricky. I think it is totally fine. But enough with that. If you decide to give this list a try, I think you definitely should. And any future modifications to it, I can think of for GD04, I would say Silver Bullet is going to be in this deck. It's very possible it completely eradicates launcher strikes. It's also very possible that Silver Bullet means that you run a completely different list where you're dropping the Freedoms and the Ales from the list and running something else, or maybe just the Freedoms and possibly Justice or something like that, and maybe putting the Dynamis package back in, or putting in the Death Sight. So you have some options here. There's definitely going to be some concessions made in GD04. And I do think that the, wing blockers archetype remains the same, but there are going to be a little bit of some not niche differences, but I think you're going to have variants like we have currently with the Dynamis blockers or with Shenlong or something like that. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll catch you in the next one.